Well, speaking of cool, I thought tonight's show was pretty cool. I thought it was a good episode. They are kind of on a really good run right now, and the ratings are just not reflecting that. I think last week they were down from the previous week. I think their 18 to 49 demo rating went from point zero four to point zero two, which is not good.
That's not good.
Especially considering they had Jay White open the show. I thought that they would have a much better time. As we learned from our buddy Paul's ratings article, as far as the Olympics affecting the ratings.
They don't.
Olympics historically do not really affect the ratings. They pretty much stay even. If they dip, it's down, less than 5%. And so, they're,
I
they're
was I gotta give Paul a shout out here because I think
yeah.
he did a really good job breaking that thing down.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I really enjoy reading Paul's. It's so funny that Canadian is so dedicated to breaking down these American ratings as much as Paul is. But I mean, it's really insightful. It's really smart. I've learned a lot from reading his work, and this is something that's on the Fight Game website. Like it's really interesting to read because again, like Meltzer was saying, Olympics are going to bring everything down. And if you look at it, everything's down a little bit, but it hasn't had like a big impact, which is, pardon the pun, kind of surprising. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out Paul's work on that. It's really good.
Yeah. So and then someone asked me, it's like, the shows are good right now and they have fans back. So what do they do? What do they do to get those ratings up? And typically the answer is spend a lot of money and get a bunch of big stars. And there's people available. Those people are out there. But my answer was keep grinding, keep having good shows, and let that word of mouth continue, right? And eventually the show, there's always going to be peaks and valleys, and Impact, they're on a small station, so you're always going to have that issue. But last year when Kenny Omega debuted, they were able to get 225,000 viewers. I think they had a point zero 0.06 or a point zero 0.08 rating, and that was their peak. And you know it's unreasonable for them to sustain that, but they have lost over half of all of that since
Yeah.
then.
The shame
And
of that is that the show is so much better now than when
yeah.
Kenny Omega debuted probably 10 months ago now.
Hmm.
Like, and again, because I was one of those people that jumped on board. I hadn't watched Impact in a few years. I jumped on board when Kenny Omega came on, and I was like, oh boy, this show is a rough go. And I learned to love it. Like, I really do love watching Impact now. Part of the thing with these ratings, I think we worry too much about the week tweaks. Like, you look back at WCW in 1986, WWF in 1997, is like ratings will come if the show is good.
Hmm.
Right? Stay the course. Like you said, keep grinding, keep doing good shows. Like, don't get because Impact can't get very gimmicky, so that's a good thing. And it's not going to be, you're not going to get 500,000 people to 1,000,000 people watching on Axis.
No.
They just don't have that kind of, a reach, right? So it's tricky. I think the pay-per-view numbers are more indicative of where Impact is than the ratings. And I believe our pay-per-view numbers are still up higher. So you're getting more fan investment. You're getting more people excited to watch the product. Just the volume isn't there right now. And it will. If you keep this up, if you continue to put on good shows week after week, it will grow.
Hmm.
It's just going to take time.
Yep. Just keep grinding, and people will come, people will listen, and and they will watch. And if you happen to sign a big name or two, I think that's also good, right? But don't just sign a big name or two and then have crappy shows, kind of which is kind of what happened when they brought in Omega at first. Like, hey, they brought in this big name, and of course that spiked the rating. They weren't be able to sustain it because they just had an abysmal taping period from November to January. And then
Wasn't good.
I would say, this year, for the most part, I would probably go 85% of the episodes that I've watched have been pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say 10% have been really bad, and about 5% have just been meh. You know what I mean? So,
Which is a pretty good, that's,
yeah,
talking about batting averages, that's pretty good for TV,
that's a damn
right?
good ratio, especially for pro
Yeah.
wrestling TV, right?
There's a lot
So,
of bad pro wrestling on TV.
yeah.